There was a time long before phones, long before streaming, long before the world started screaming for our attention 24 hours a day, when Saturday morning was the holiest of the holies. We didn't call it that, of course, but to every Gen X kid, Saturday morning was church. Our pews were the couch cushions, our hymns were the theme songs, and our communion came in the form of sugary cereal and milk that had already gone warm by the second episode of your favorite show. It didn't matter who you were or where you lived. If you were a kid in the 70s, 80s, Saturday morning wasn't just another day of the week, it was a sacred ritual. It always started the same way. That faint blue light of early morning leaking through the blinds. Silence. You know, the kind of silence you could only find before the adults woke up. You'd roll out of bed in your pajamas, your hair sticking up like a static charged mess, and make your way down the hallway as quietly as possible. Because this was part of the ceremony. That's stealth. I mean, we didn't dare wake the parents because if we did, we lost the TV. So we learned to walk in slow motion. Each floorboard creak, a potential death sentence. I mean, that's how we treated it. And then once we reached that living room, we'd press that power button. And that satisfying click that felt like unlocking a portal. That screen flickered and buzzed and then bloomed into color. That glow filled the room like the sun shining through the stained glass of the cathedral. And in that moment, the world outside didn't exist. It was just you. I mean, that hum of the tube and the lineup of heroes waiting to teach you about life, friendship, and explosions. And before the first show started, there was another part of that ritual. The offering. The cereal box. Every kid had their brand. Some swore by Frosted Flakes, others by Captain Crunch, and then there were the rebels. The ones who would mix two cereals together just because they liked to live dangerously. I mean, you'd pour that mountain of sugar and artificial color into the bowl like that was way too big for your age. The milk would splash everywhere. I mean, you didn't care. This was morning. And then you would stare at that box because that box wasn't just packaging. I mean, the back of that cereal box had mazes and games and trivia and contests that made you think you could actually win a spaceship if you mailed in enough box tops. I mean, those boxes were our phones, our feeds, our entertainment during commercials. And when the milk turned the same color as the cereal dye, that was the good part. That was the real blessing at the end of the ritual. And you remember the lineup, right? I mean, every channel was stacked with gold. You had things like He-Man and G.I. Joe and Thundercats and Smurfs. And then they came out later with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And, you know, there was so many shows. You know, you had your classic Bugs Bunny and listening to Daffy and everybody. I mean, it was just, that was Saturday. And it wasn't just TV. It was an event. Every week, a brand new sermon from the gods of animation. We'd all sit cross-legged on that scratchy carpet, eyes glued, mind wide open. The villains were simple, the heroes were bold, and the world made sense. Good triumphed, eventually. And I mean, and friendship could solve anything as long as someone yelled a moral lesson right before the credits. Then came the commercials. I mean, we didn't skip them, we lived them. That's where we saw everything we ever wanted, but could never afford. Action figures with impossible backstories, board games that look 10 times more exciting on TV, pure sugar cereals disguised as part of some balanced breakfast. Every 30 seconds was another shot of pure weaponized joy. And we'd memorize those jingles like scriptures. And when Christmas rolled around, those commercials became the most important literature in the house. You'd circle every toy in the Sears catalog, highlight it, and hope the universe was listening. And there was an understanding among us. No talking during the show. You could laugh, sure, but you didn't interrupt the storyline. That was grounds for banishment from the living room kingdom. You could, however, make commentary during commercials. That was when you and maybe your siblings or friends that stayed over negotiated alliances for the next block of programming. After Garfield, we're watching G.I. Joe. No, we're not. Pee-wee's Playhouse is on. Yes, we are. I called it first. It was democracy, dictatorship, and diplomacy all wrapped in one. And somehow it worked. Well, Saturday mornings were short, yes, but they felt eternal. From 6 a.m. to maybe 11, that world stopped spinning. Homework didn't exist. Parents were asleep. Reality was on pause. And then, slowly, like a dream ending, it began to fade. That sun got a little higher. You started to hear the movement upstairs, the first sound of the vacuum cleaner, that siren that signaled the end. And that's when the networks betrayed us. Because the cartoons faded out. And suddenly, news. Or golf. Or some low-budget cooking show hosted by a guy in a sweater vest. And we'd sit there, still holding our spoon, staring at the screen like we'd just been kicked out of paradise. And that was when childhood ended. Every Saturday, like clockwork. I mean, we'd wander outside then, blinking into the sunlight, still humming cartoon theme songs. The neighborhood would come alive again. Bikes, baseball, kickball. I mean, someone would have a hose running. Someone else would be building a ramp they had no business building. And all of it, every scrape, every laugh, every adventure, it all started with that morning ritual. That little slice of peace before the noise began. But now the world runs on demand. Kids don't wait for anything anymore. They stream, they skip, they scroll. And I get it. Convenience is great. But there was something sacred about waiting all week for those few hours of joy. That anticipation was part of the experience. It made those mornings feel earned. We didn't binge. We savored. We counted the days until Saturday, and it never disappointed. Sometimes I wonder if that's what really made our generation different. We learned how to wait. We learned how to appreciate a moment, the quiet, the ritual, simple things. A bowl of cereal, a cartoon hero, a world that wasn't trying to sell us anxiety 24 hours a day. We learned that happiness didn't have to be complicated. It could be a flickering screen and a sugar high before the day begins. And that's something no algorithm will ever recreate. So yeah, Saturday mornings were sacred. And even though the networks, the commercials, and the cartoons are long gone, that feeling has never left. That warmth, the anticipation, that stillness before the day, it is part of who we are. It's why we can find joy in simple things, why we can laugh at chaos, why we still chase that simple glow we found in the TV light all those years ago. We didn't know it at the time, but those mornings were our first lessons in happiness, independence, and wonder. Maybe, just maybe, the reason we're all still a little nostalgic for them is because they were the last time life felt truly simple.